All right, this video is going to be the 10 most important life lessons heading into 2024. This is gonna be a massive year. If you're watching this and you're going down a personal development journey, you might be a lost teenager, lost in your 20s. You might be in university, headed towards university, and have no idea what you wanna do in the future. You might be starting up a business and looking for how to grow the business, scale the business, actually make money, obtain wealth. These are all things that I've done over the past 8 years. My name is Luke Lintz. If this is the first time you're watching this, I'm basically a 24-year-old multi-millionaire where I've grown up a business this size of over 50 full-time workers, which is a public relations firm. These are 10 massive lessons that I've learned over the past year and over the past few years that have got me to where I am today. The first lesson, which is one that I was just recently enlightened towards, which is bad company corrupts good morals. And I could speak on this for eternity, but I'm just going to keep it very short and sweet of my understanding of this piece of scripture. But basically, every single person in this entire world is born into this world and grows up in this world with a moral compass. Now, those morals, values, they get changed, altered, persuaded during your childhood and from your parents and the people who you look up to that teach you. But every single person has an inherent moral compass inside of them in terms of differentiating from what's right from wrong. And so a lot of people, myself, is I grew up always feeling very lost. I always felt like I didn't know the answers to things. I was always very curious and very good at asking myself very good questions that dove deep into trying to find the answers, but I was always not confident in myself that I was answering my questions. And what happened is basically I latched on to learning from several people who were very successful in business who taught me some unbelievable business skills and got me to where I am in my business of being an 8-figure business owner, scaling up the business to 50 plus full-time workers, having so much time freedom now because I've been able to get to that point within my business. But the problem that I had was I took advice from them inherently from other areas of these people's lives outside of business. I didn't think critically and I didn't discern about these other people's aspects of their lives that wasn't a good representation of where I wanted to get to. So I took advice from them about business because they were in a place in business that I wanted to get towards. So it made sense that I took feedback and I took knowledge and wisdom from them in the business side of things. But in every other area of their life, they weren't balanced. And I was taking advice through osmosis by just being around these people, which is kind of in a sense bad company. And yeah, I did. My morals did get corrupted. I got heavily into the party scene. I got heavily into materialistic things, which is why I bought a Lamborghini at 20. I felt even more lost. I was getting super away from faith. Like there was not even a basic level understanding of what faith was and how it would play a role in my life. I was super obsessed with money, and all of these things I'm saying was as in the past tense, but like I'm working through it and I'm on this journey working towards a better future. The second major lesson is about decision making, and it's a couple of aspects, but one is the only wrong decision that you can make in life is no decision at all. And this was a huge mindset shift for me because I would always flutter between thinking if I've made the right decision or not. And I think that you can probably resonate with this. Like, have you ever had a time in your life where you've looked back on a decision, you've reflected on a decision and thought to yourself, did I make the right decision there? And usually the majority of people fall under the aspect of either never making decisions or rarely making decisions for themselves, or when they do make the decisions, they second guess themselves if they made the right or wrong decision. So most people fall on that continuum of somewhere in between that. So ideally you want to get to a place where you're making decisions quickly, and then if you make the wrong decision, quote unquote, you're able to learn from the mistake that you made. And therefore it was never a wrong decision. It was just a learning experience. My favorite part about this mindset shift is that it gives you peace of mind. which is one of the most valuable things that you can have in life, is the aspect of not stressing, overcomplicating things, and not being anxious, nervous about if you made the right or wrong decision. And it's just about gathering all of the information that you can possibly have a decision-making framework, make decisions based off of your values and beliefs, and then stay committed to those decisions. And then from those decisions, you will learn from them in the future. Take those learnings for future decisions that you have to make. The third lesson is taking advice only from people who are a representation of where you want to get to in the future. So if you're watching this, I want you to think about all of the people who teach you things throughout your life. Your parents, your older siblings, your teachers, maybe your university professors, maybe you have some mentors, coaches, maybe you have a personal trainer in your life. Think about all of these people in your life and ask yourself, are these people a good representation of where I want to get to? So for example, if your personal trainer is fat and doesn't eat the healthiest, is that a good representation of where you're trying to get to? If your teacher is teaching you economics or some aspect of financial literacy in school, and he doesn't have the wealth or the financial literacy that you want to obtain in the future, is that someone good that you should be learning from for financial literacy? If your parents are teaching you about what a good relationship looks like, but they're divorced and have stayed divorced, are they showcasing a good representation and a track record of their own quality relationships? One of the biggest mistakes I've had in the past is not questioning the people above me. This is what a lot of people in this world do, is they sometimes question their peers, but they rarely question the people above them because they see them as farther ahead in life just because of maybe their age difference. But the people you should be thinking most critically about, and the people you should be questioning, people you should be looking at if they have the track record to give you teachings in life, are the people who are above you in age, that are in a role of teaching you, teachers, parents, older siblings, because they need to be a good representation of where you're trying to get to. For example, me, if you're listening to this video, I hope that I'm a good representation of where you're trying to get to or head towards, which is why my demographic is my younger self. I want to be helping out my younger self get to where I am today, faster, quicker, and with less problems and less suffering. Lesson number 4 is a quick one. Reap what you sow. What this basically means is your present day actions will make up the future that you will have. What you are doing today and the actions you are taking today is what you will get in the future directly. Reap what you sow. So you need to be constantly asking yourself, is the actions that I am taking today a good representation of the person I want to become in the future? Now, lesson number 5 was seeking a deeper understanding of the 7 deadly sins. These 7 kind of like characteristics were extrapolated from the Bible. They were never directly written in the Bible as like the 7 deadly sins, but they were taken from different aspects. So if we do a short breakdown of each one of them, we basically have lust to start out with, and that's like basically a deep sexual desire. And a lot of people in this world have very deep sexual desires. A lot of people are addicted to porn. A lot of people have sex without giving a second thought. I know some people who would have sex with people all the time who they didn't even care about, would cheat on their girlfriends, just crazy stuff that was just completely out of lust. The next deadly sin is gluttony, and that's basically eating in excess, mainly with food, but then also just really anything in excess. It's really just a great attribute to look at the exact opposite of it, where basically you want to strive for balance in life and not being excessive with any action, with any eating of food, with anything that you want to do, because anything in excess is bad. The next deadly sin is greed, and I have a pretty long track record of how greed has impacted my life. Just starting in business, and one major story that I can look back on is when we were running our first business, which was High Key Tech, a product-based business selling wireless earbuds. We were doing extremely good. We made over 7 figures of revenue while I was just graduating high school basically. And so on a track record to do extremely good things. And what happened was we launched a new product that we didn't test in the marketplace. And we wanted to make sure that on the Christmas season, we didn't sell out. That was a huge thing for us, that we didn't want to sell out, because then we'd be missing out on the potential opportunity to make more money, which is like greed. And so what happened was, in our greediness, we bought as much inventory as we could to make sure that we didn't sell out at all costs, instead of just being content with what we had. And we ended up not selling nearly as much as we thought, having to pay more warehousing fees for storage, having to pay more shipping fees. It was ridiculous and blew up into a major six-figure mistake and wiped out all of our profits. And a great example of how greed can just completely destroy everything. The next deadly sin is sloth, which is basically not doing anything, ignoring the things necessary, getting distracted, and just like basically sitting on the couch like a sloth. The next deadly sin is wrath, and that's basically like extreme hatred towards another person. And the last two deadly sins are envy and pride. And pride is another one that I've had an extreme relationship with in the past, unhealthy relationship. And what it is basically having a huge ego in life and being prideful. What happens is every single person in this world has an ego, and throughout life, you're usually fueling that ego. The majority of people make a lot of their decisions in life fueling their ego. And a good example is when we started finally making a decent amount of money with our second business. I thought the best purchasing decision that I could make at the age of 20 was buying a Lamborghini Urus, to be able to showcase to all of the people in my hometown that I so-called made it, was successful. And that was all out of pride, all out of fueling my ego, driving around the city and having people look at me, just so much pride there. All that is for short-term gratification and doesn't lead to any long-term fulfillment. And then we're moving on to lesson number 6, which is the 7 godly virtues. And I'm not gonna go too much into this, but basically it's the exact opposite of the 7 deadly sins. You have chastity, temperance, charity, diligence, patience, kindness, and humility. Now, these are all virtues, characteristics, values, whatever you want to call it, that I'm going to be working towards in the coming years. And it's just cool to have a framework of characteristics and a complete understanding of the definitions and what it looks like to get there. And now we're on to the 7th lesson. And this is a piece of scripture that my dad would constantly tell me all the way at a young age and throughout my childhood, that I never had a full understanding of, because I didn't have the life experience to basically tie to it. And basically my dad would always say, rejoice in your sufferings, because sufferings produces endurance. Endurance builds your character. Character gives us hope, and hope never lets us down. The reason I never had a full understanding of this is because I never reflected or understood any sufferings that I had in life. And so I never really thought about what enduring sufferings even look like, or if I ever experienced it. But over this past year especially, I've been able to reflect back at many times in my life that I've gone through an extreme amount of suffering on the inside and things that have affected me actually in life. There's a few things that I've learned from it. One is that every single person, if you look around you right now, every single person in this entire world has problems and has sufferings. No matter how rich they are, no matter how poor they are, no matter what Lamborghini they have in their driveway or a Subaru in their driveway, every single person has problems and sufferings in their lives. And what this piece of scripture basically means is, as you work towards going through these sufferings and basically facing them head on instead of running away from them and seeking to understand and learn from these sufferings, you're enduring the sufferings. And what that does is basically enduring the sufferings for a long period of time builds your character, because at a future date, when you have to face the same sufferings or sufferings of the same level, say, of like problems and tribulations, you find peace within it because you know that you've experienced it before. And so you're not afraid, and you're able to take it head on in the future with more life experience, a better understanding, and you won't be as lost ultimately. And so you're building your character. And what that does is, when you have the character of enduring suffering and being able to face suffering and problems head on instead of running away from it, is that it gives you hope for a bigger, better, and brighter future. And really, that never lets us down. Hope is like the ultimate place of where you want to get to. The 8th lesson is, if you're always focused on the future, or the past, then you're never enjoying the present. There's also a quote I was reading the other day, which was, being depressed is being stuck in the past, and being anxious is thinking about too much of the future, and being peaceful is being in the present. And this is something I fell victim to heavily over the past several years. And it's because I've gone to a place with my business and my life where I have more time freedom now, and I have a team established of extremely good workers at High Key, and an unbelievable team and culture where we're doing extremely well and basically set up for success in the financial side of things forever. We're going to be market leaders, and we're going to constantly be scaling over the coming years. What I've had to realize is that even though I've gone to this place of success in the terms of financials, is that I have a hard time finding peace in the present a lot of times. I'm always in my head stuck in the future and really anxious because of it. Even though we are set up for the future, I'm constantly just trying to problem solve and think of solutions to the next problem. And what happens is when I'm on this hamster wheel of just constantly thinking through problems every single day and thinking through solutions, that I miss out on the enjoyment of the little things in the present. And I know that there's certain actions I could be taking to help myself towards this. The biggest one probably being meditation, which is basically the practice of being in the present, and something I'm going to be working on heavily over the next coming years, because I want to be taking actions towards being more present in life. Lesson number 9 is from Alex Hormozi, which is the theory of constraints. And this has been one of the biggest things that has helped our business scale up heavily over the past couple of years. And it's basically your business, and really you can take this concept into any area of life, but your business will scale up to the constraint that it has, the one major constraint that it has. Because in business, there's usually tons of problems, an infinite amount of problems that you could be working on and that your team could be working on. But there's one major problem, usually, that is the major constraint of the business that is stopping it from getting it to its next level. I would say that you should think about this, whether you run a business or don't, just in your life, in terms of, if you look at all the problems, like if you were to write out every single problem that you have on a list, every single problem that you have in business or your work or your relationships, what is the number one biggest problem that you could be working on that would get you the largest step forward? And so I've adopted this mindset, especially in business, of the theory of constraints, which is basically figuring out and spending most of my time figuring out what is the biggest problem we need to be working on, spending the most amount of time, resources on to get to the next level. And the 10th lesson is one that I've learned time and time again over the past few years, which is basically people in life learn lessons in one of 3 ways. Basically, they learn from other people's mistakes, which is the best place that you want to be at. You want to be able to see other people's mistakes. You want to have mentors, teachers in your life that you can ask questions, find out all of the mistakes that they had, all the lessons, and learn from those so you don't have to make your own mistakes. And you can basically catapult yourself and skip forward in time because you're learning from other people's mistakes. Now, the next level down is learning from your own mistakes. So basically making mistakes, having problems in life, and finding your own solutions to those, and making sure you never make the same mistake twice. And then the third level, which is the lowest level, is basically you make mistakes in life, you have problems, and you don't learn from those mistakes. And that's unfortunately where a lot of people lie in this world, is that they make mistakes time and time again, which is fine. Every single person in this world makes mistakes, and making mistakes is an amazing part of life because it lends way to learning the lessons that you need. But unfortunately, the majority of people make mistakes in life and then never learn from those. And so they end up making the exact same mistake twice, and they lose out on all those lessons to be learned. So what I would advise you to do is look back on the past several years of your life and look at every single problem and mistake that you made. Figure out what you were doing, write down all the situations, and then write out the lesson that is to be learned from that mistake, because every single mistake in life, there's a lesson to be learned. And so think back about every single mistake, take away all of the lessons, and then figure out, have you implemented those lessons into your life to make sure that you aren't making the same mistake twice. But that's basically the 10 top lessons I have going into 2024. It's going to be a stellar year. Hope you guys got some good takeaways. Comment down below for any videos you want to see in the future. My name is Luke Lentz. Peace.